Outcoached and outplayed. First things first, congratulations to England on what was a thoroughly deserved victory. Without a doubt, the better team won. As an All Blacks fan, that one hurts a lot. As a rugby fan, what a fascinating game. And right now, I'm going to go through all the detail, guys. There's a lot of analysis that I've done on this one. And really, this is a tactical masterclass by Eddie Jones. So I'm going to go through all of the details. We're going to get down to a comprehensive level of strategy and detail. So you really want to stay tuned for this one. I think this is going to be an excellent video on tactical brilliance from an absolute genius in Eddie Jones. Kia ora everyone, my name is Zach. I love rugby. Welcome back to Hakatime Rugby. Let's get down to this analysis. Where I'm going to start, I want to do a comparison here between the tactics applied by Eddie Jones and the tactics applied by Steve Hansen. We're going to keep a running count here. One other thing I'll say before I get started is I generally take notes during all of the games and just give my thoughts as I'm running through the game. What I've done is I've put all of the notes into the description box. So if you want to just, at some stage, go through those and just, you can sort of get a picture of how I think about the game and what I see during the game. I thought it was quite an interesting read going back through those notes this morning. So if you want to check them out, they are there in the description. But let's get down to the analysis. Eddie Jones versus Steve Hansen, two brilliant tactical coaches. The resumes speak for themselves, right? So Eddie Jones, obviously, he has helped South Africa in 2007 to a World Cup championship. He knows what it takes to win a World Cup. Then he applied himself for Japan, right? And within that, we know about the miracle of Brighton where he was able to defeat the Springboks in that game. And we're going to touch on components of that as well through this analysis. And then we know also now what he has done with England to be an absolutely brilliant outcome and has really applied himself in terms of strategy and brilliance. He came up against Steve Hansen in this one. Steve Hansen's resume also speaks for itself. He has been involved in World Cup winning teams, both under Graham Henry and also as head coach in 2015. He has 2 Rugby World Cups on his resume, and he came in here looking to dominate and take a 3rd Rugby World Cup. But he certainly met his match in this one. Where I'm going to start, guys, the first thing that jumped out to me in this match was the Haka and the response to the Haka. Now, there is a lot of talk about how the All Blacks gain an advantage over other teams when it comes to the Haka. And mostly because it is a one-sided message delivered to the opposition who have to stand there and accept it. Now, Owen Farrell said in his post-match interview, they did not want to stand there and accept it. And we know, predictably, the All Blacks did their usual formation, which is an arrowhead formation. Now, anyone who knows anything about strategy and war tactics will know, how do you defeat an arrowhead? In Māori culture, we call it a kuruta. In general war strategy, it is called a phalanx. But how do you defeat a phalanx? And it is exactly that V formation that England produced. To me, when I saw that, I immediately thought, that is how you defeat an arrowhead formation. That is a psychological advantage immediately to England. What is usually a strong source of, motivation for the All Blacks has immediately been flipped. And I thought right there, that has Eddie Jones written all over it. He has obviously done his analysis and he has said, this match against that Haka, we are going to gain a psychological advantage. We already know what they are bringing. They will do the arrowhead formation, and we are going to counter it. And as soon as I thought that, I thought, brilliant tactic. Right off the bat, psychological advantage to England. And essentially, you know, a lot of people will say that New Zealand starts with a number of points based on the advantage they get there. Immediately I thought, the score is 0-0. These teams are starting on an even keel, and you might even say that England, given that advantage there psychologically, they start with points on the board. Fantastic stuff. And as I say, it just had Eddie Jones written all over it. He's obviously prepared well for this. And that was his response on how to counteract what is usually a source of competitive advantage for the All Blacks. So on that, 1 point goes to Mr. Eddie Jones. Fantastic. Then we get into the actual match. Now, after the match, and I want to speak a little bit about tactics leading up to this game. Eddie Jones in the post-match said they have been preparing for this match in particular for 2 years. And on the other side of the coin, Steve Hansen has been preparing for this match for 1 week. And no truer words could have been spoken. It is clear that he has implemented over the last couple of years a game plan to target exactly this match. He has been in preparation for this, as he says, for 2 years, right? Versus Steve Hansen, who, very much plays the line of one game at a time, one game at a time, one game at a time. Now, I'm sure that he does, in the back of his mind, he's thinking about big games into the future. But from a mental preparation perspective, the All Blacks are very good at taking one game at a time focus. Eddie Jones, on the other hand, he might, in conversation, say, yes, we're targeting the following game. But he has obviously prepared a plan over the last 2 years to focus on this game. As a result, he is thinking 10 steps ahead of the All Blacks. And again, another advantage goes to Eddie Jones. The ball hasn't even been kicked off yet, right? And he, in my view, before the game had even started, he is already at 2 advantages as far as coaching tactics goes. The third major thing before the ball even got kicked off we need to talk about is the selections. So he very rightly predicted that tactical kicking will become a huge component of this game. So his selections went against the selection that he made with Australia, and he selected George Ford and Owen Farrell. He correctly predicted the importance of tactical kicking and game management. On the other side of the coin, Steve Hansen incorrectly predicted that a more physical All Blacks pack would be better to compete against guys like Underhill and Itoje and Curry, who were incredible in the breakdown at disruption and obviously turnovers and winning ball as well. So again, from a selection perspective, you have to say Steve Hansen got it wrong, and by his own admission, he said that if he could go back, he would change that. And Eddie Jones got it right. Now, we haven't even started the match analysis, and already, in my mind, Eddie Jones is 3-0 up in terms of tactics and preparation. Fantastic stuff. Now we can actually talk about the game itself. And you know my style, I'm not one to go through a minute-by-minute breakdown of the events that took place. I like to look more tactically and analyze some of the play that was going on. So let's start with the breakdown. Keys to victory here. The breakdown was a huge part of it. What I noticed right away is that England were committing players to the breakdown, as you would expect. Steve Hansen, however, must have given a direction not to commit too many players to the breakdown. Now, 2 things happened as a result of that. One, England were doing exactly what you need to do to slow down an attacking team like the All Blacks. They were disruptive at the breakdown, and they were winning turnovers. They were physical in defence, and they were winning turnovers, right? So, to me, competing at the breakdown is not just about winning turnovers. It is about disrupting the ball and slowing down the pace of attack. And for a team like the All Blacks who rely on pace in attack, and we saw that against Ireland, how dominant they can be when they have front-going ball and when they have clean ball coming out of the breakdown, you can see exactly the type of danger that they can put teams under. Eddie Jones very, very correctly said, we need superior guys at the breakdown to both contest, win ball, and more importantly, disrupt to slow down the attack. And that's where he's really come on and trained and worked with guys like Underhill, who was absolutely incredible, unlucky not to get man of the match. But Maro Itoje in this game was incredible. I'll come back to him in particular, as well as Curry. Incredible work at the breakdown. On the other side of the coin, Steve Hansen, he must have come with a tactic not to commit too many players to the breakdown, with a view to set the defensive structure to give a bit more physicality there in defense. Now, it is clear that tactic did not work. As I mentioned, one side of the coin, disrupting the breakdown slows down play. On the other side of the coin, if you give a free rein at the breakdown, what happens in attack? It speeds up the attack, right? So for England, they had very clean ball coming out of the breakdown, and they were able to use that as a platform to capitalize on and attack with real venom. Fantastic stuff. And again, another point to Eddie Jones in terms of tactics. He's really starting to demonstrate that he's getting on top of Steve Hansen tactically in this game. The next thing I want to talk about is game management. Now, we spoke a little bit about the selections and the importance of having very, very good tactical kicking. Now, they had that in spades with Ford and with Farrell. Great work. You know, very, very simple rugby. Play territory. Play in the right area of the field. Now, what I want to discuss here in terms of game management is the good side of game management and the bad side of game management. And on the good side, obviously, we saw great tactical kicking there from England, playing territory and putting the All Blacks under pressure. On the other side of the coin, unfortunately, the All Blacks seem to adopt a policy of attack at all ends. When you get the ball in your own 22, attack, attack, attack. And against lesser teams, that may work. Against better teams, stuff like that does not work, right? So we saw that there was a willingness to really attack, and it was from a deep territory disadvantage where the All Blacks were attacking from their own 22, or even trying to take a man on the outside, continually going into touch. I just thought there were far too many passes being pushed. There was too many runs along the sideline, and the passes, unfortunately, were not sticking. As a result of that, the All Blacks were turning over possession constantly, and that was a real issue. What it needed is cooler heads to prevail to say, we don't need to continue to push the pass. Let's maintain some patience here and build phases and build pressure. One thing in particular around game management is you have to earn the right to score points. And unfortunately, the All Blacks did not do enough to put sustained pressure on without pushing passes, without risking outside runs, without kicking away possession. They did not do enough of that in sustained patches to put enough pressure on to score points. Big concern there. Other thing on game management, on the good side from an England perspective, they targeted inexperienced players. There was a lot of conversation leading into this World Cup around whether or not there was too much youth in this All Blacks team. One thing I noticed in the Springboks game was there was a moment when Sevu Reece was trailing back on his own 5-metre line to save a ball from going into touch. Rather than let it go into touch, what did he do? He grabbed the ball, dived towards his own end goal, and fired a 10-metre pass over to Beauden Barrett while the defence was rushing forward. Now, I looked at that play and thought that is a sign of inexperience, right? Because all it takes is Beauden Barrett to be a little bit off on the catch, for the Springboks to be far up, for the pass to be mistimed, and you have a real problem on your hands. Cooler heads would let that go into touch. So I think England came in with a game plan from a game management perspective, is with the tactical kicking, a lot of it went down to Sevu Reece, and I think a lot of it was done so in order to target the inexperience of that guy in particular. So I thought that was fantastic for them to single him out in particular and focus on the kicking there. The other on the other side of the coin, in terms of kicking, there was a lot of premeditated from the All Blacks. There was a lot of premeditated kick passing going towards Johnny May's wing. There was a number of times where the kick went across. There's two English defenders there, George Bridges or Sevu Reece on the outside, and I immediately thought, this guy is extremely good under the high ball, Johnny May. He's in a very, very good position. That was never on. One, it was premeditated. And two, you're kicking towards a player who is very, very good at defending that type of play. So, again, maybe a little inexperience there from Mo'unga in persevering with that tactic the number of times that he did. I didn't see at all that it was successful, actually, so that was a big concern. But to me, again, that was the negative side of tactical kicking and game management, because it just wasn't on. What would have been better was just to take the tackle if it's not on and try to look for additional gaps. Keep searching for those gaps. Be patient. And that's one thing the All Blacks really lacked in this game, is patience in attack to build sustained pressure to earn points. As I mentioned, this is a big factor for me. You have to earn the right to score points. You can't expect to score tries from all positions on the field, particularly against better teams. The other thing on game management that I will raise, keep the scoreboard ticking over. To beat the All Blacks, you must apply scoreboard pressure, and that's exactly what England did. And they may have missed some drop goals, some penalties, but they continued to look for those points to extend the lead. And that is so crucial to putting the All Blacks under pressure, is make them chase points. And then you'll see them pushing passes that they shouldn't be pushing, making errors that they shouldn't be making. And that sustained building of points to put scoreboard pressure on the All Blacks was fantastically done by England. So from an overall game management perspective, in this game, again, England get the advantage. On my count, it's 5-0 to Eddie. Eddie Jones. Tactical masterclass. And he said that he prepared for this game for 2 years, and it shows what a well-executed game plan this was. And we need to give credit, obviously, to the English players. And there were some incredible guys at play here. I mean, Maro Itoje, for me, who won man of the match, with the disruptive reach around on the maul. Now, right, you can take that how you want, but to reach around and grab that ball and disrupt that maul when the All Blacks were on attack, to steal line out ball, to dominate at the breakdown. Oh, fantastic. He rightly won man of the match, and I've got a feeling he may even win World Player of the Year. He was that good. That's to me, that was the most dominant performance by an individual, maybe second only to Semi Radradra at this World Cup. But it was an extremely dominant performance, and he showed his world class here. As I say, I would not be surprised if he is up for World Player of the Year this year, and if he wins. Right, on that performance alone, incredible, incredible, incredible. Now, I just want to focus on the All Blacks for a moment here and what they did, unfortunately, where they went wrong in some areas. What I was really concerned about coming into this game, I mentioned it in my pre-match review, was preparation. Now, All Blacks pride themselves on preparation, and when they get it right, they dominate teams like we saw against Ireland. That was a game that they just did everything right in the lead-up, and on the day they were ready to go. Now, after the match, they mentioned that the real focus was to come down from those highs, allow yourself to recover, and then start focusing on England and attempt to bring up the energy levels to prepare for that game. Once I started to hear some of the way the players were talking about it, I thought, you're not going to be at the same level of preparation as you were for the Irish game. And unfortunately, that was showing from the very, very first minute. They came out flat. Uncharacteristically, they were missing tackles all over the place, which you just don't see from an All Black squad. And yeah, they just looked very, very flat in terms of energy, competing at the breakdown. Obviously, I mentioned about that, and just really lacked physicality there early on. One thing I'll say as well, they lacked a plan B. They were electing for this tactic to run from their own in goal, try and score points from everywhere, pushing the passes, and really what needed to happen was a level of patience, game management, tactical kicking to try and win territory. Instead, there was just a lot of attack mentality. And against the better teams, you've got to earn the right to score points. It's a very, very big factor. And they just lacked that patience to apply themselves to try and get in better positions on the field. I thought that just showed, unfortunately, that the All Blacks were committed to an approach of all-out attack. And when it came down to it, they just did not have a plan B, unfortunately, to counteract what was a very, very good tactical kicking advantage that England created. The final thing I'll say on the All Blacks, unfortunately, I think it was clear things were not going well in the first half, and I think there needs to be a lot more decisive and faster player rotation happening right off the bat. I did think once Sonny Bill Williams came on, he immediately improved the defence in the midfield there, and that was something that was lacking. It just seemed like the All Blacks' defence in the first half was just a little bit off. They were allowing too many opportunities for England, but when Sonny Bill Williams was there, he immediately started to slow them down in the midfield. Sam Cane as well, I think that decision should have been made a little bit sooner to start competing at the breakdown. And once he came on, you started to see a bit of renewed energy in the All Blacks. They certainly started to compete at the breakdown. Ardie Savea started to get a few more turnovers at that stage, but by that stage it was too little, too late. The other thing, and I mentioned on the inexperience of Ceri Reece, I could see that they were targeting him. And I immediately thought in that moment, we might need to look at moving Ceri Reece either off or just some kind of tactical change there. It was clear that's where the ball was going. So Jordie Barrett did come on, and I would have liked to have seen him come on for Ceri Reece, because that would have immediately improved the situation. Jordie Barrett, as a fullback, as fly half, he is very, very good at returning kicks, and he is very, very good at taking high ball kicks. So that would have presented problems for a tactic that England had right off the bat to target those inexperienced players. Unfortunately, I don't think that the All Blacks rotated players fast enough to shore up some of those defensive issues that we had. What's next for England? What is next for England? So, they move into a final. That's the first thing. Congratulations to England on that. Now, who they will face will be determined in the next 8 hours, let's say. But it's clear what England are bringing to the table now, and they do it with incredible execution. So tactical kicking game management, very, very dominant set piece, physical in defense, continuity in attack, and they have some X factor there as well. Now, if they go up against either the Springboks or Wales, you would have to say they are favoured to win this Rugby World Cup from here. Now, there were two teams that could have a say about that, right? On the balance of the outcome of this match, the strategy that this team is bringing, and how they will play against both the Boks and or Wales, I think if they come up against the Boks, they're going to come up against a very, very physical team. I would say England have the advantage in terms of game management. I would say England have the advantage in terms of both goal kicking and tactical kicking and general play kicking as well. But it'll be interesting to see how they go against a very, very physical and dominant forward pack that the Springboks are bringing. I think the Springboks can disrupt some of the breakdown there and provide a few more problems for England than the All Blacks did, unfortunately. But I would still say on the balance of things, it looks like England would be ahead in terms of favouritism for that match. In terms of Wales, though, England facing Wales, I actually think Wales present, and there's no guarantee that they will get through the Springboks for sure. The Springboks probably look like they are favoured to beat Wales at this stage. But I actually think Wales can present a lot more problems for England than either the All Blacks or the Springboks can. And because they have superior game management ability, with guys like Gareth Davies, I've been very, very impressed with. Dan Biggar, I've been very, very impressed with. And now they've got Lee Halfpenny there at fullback. I think they can really challenge from a tactical kicking, game management, and defensive perspective. We know their defense is good. We know that their forwards are good. The only question mark I have over Wales, they're starting to look a little bit tired, and I'm concerned that eventually the poor performances they've had will catch up to them. But it could go in reverse. They could dominate the Springboks, and then we've got a real battle on our hands in the final. And to be honest, we've got a real battle, whether it's the Springboks or Wales, we've got a real battle on our hands in the final, and I can't wait for that. Last word, guys. Last word on this video. I want to direct it to the All Blacks. Steve Hansen. So he was thoroughly outplayed in this game. There is no doubt about that. Kieran Reid, he kept trying to the very end, but unfortunately the All Blacks were outplayed. Now, these two guys have been fantastic servants of All Blacks rugby. They leave with a legacy that, I think over a 12-year period, sustained period of dominance, they leave with a legacy of success, and I don't think they should allow one match to define their careers. On behalf of all Blacks fans, thank you to you two gentlemen. It's been an incredible ride. It's been fantastic to watch, and we were just beaten by the better team on the day. And to all the departing All Blacks as well, guys like Sonny Bill Williams, I'm not sure if Sam Cane is playing, sorry, not Sam Cane, Sam Whitelock is playing on, let's see. But these guys have been great servants of All Blacks rugby. We have had a long period of dominance, and let's all get behind them and celebrate that. That's the final word from me, guys. Thank you for sticking with me. That was a great game, and I really enjoyed putting that analysis together as well. If you want more, what I'd say is, and I mentioned this at the beginning, go down into the description box and just read through my notes that I put there. They're all of my game notes from this match. I'd love to hear your point of view. What other tactics do you think were at play that were part of the reasons for England's success? Very, very interesting strategic analysis here on this game. And as I say, I enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to the next few games, guys. Still got a final to come. We've still got the final game for the All Blacks and third or fourth place playoff. So there's still a lot of rugby to come. There's still the big match tonight, so I hope everyone's tuning in for that. I'll try and get the reaction video out as quickly as possible on that one, and continue to enjoy the rugby, guys. We're down to another week, so let's just enjoy it while we've got it. See you guys.